Hey doing everyone, welcome back. As you can see, I am outside for the first time this year. Beautiful day out here in lovely Iowa. You can probably hear the birds singing. But you know what? I didn't come out here to talk about the weather, even though I actually kind of like it. I'm having a hard time seeing with the sunshine coming down, but that's alright. There's probably quite a bit of glare. That's alright. Some background noise between the birds and the traffic and all that, but that's okay. What did I come out here to talk about today? Trade deficits. You know, we are told that all these countries have been ripping us off for so long now, you know, because we send billions or trillions or however many dollars to China. Do we? Sure. But is it just that they're taking our money? Or are we getting something in return? We are getting something in return. Almost sounds like a capitalist system where you pay money, you get something. You know, let's take, for example, the coffee that is in this mug right here, right? You can see there's coffee in there, right? That coffee costs, what, maybe $15 a bag, right? It comes in a bag. Sometimes we'll buy just the beans and grind them ourselves, and sometimes we'll buy it pre-ground. Roughly $15 a bag, right? So I give the store or that company my $15, and I get this deliciousness in return, and I'm okay with that. Are they exploiting me? Are they ripping me off? No, they are providing a product that I want in exchange for a price that I believe is fair. If I didn't think their price was fair, I wouldn't buy this brand of coffee. I'd buy something else. That mug, by the way, I don't know what it cost me. I'm just going to say 10 bucks. You know, the side that you saw doesn't really have anything special on it. It's just a white mug. But if you look at this side, it has the letter T. And it has the letter T for my first name, right? I don't know, I'm just going to say 10 bucks. It was probably actually less than that. So when I went to the store and bought that mug, did they rip me off? No, I happen to like the mug. It's not my favorite mug, but I like it. They had a mug for a price that I thought was fair. So I bought the mug. If I didn't think it was a fair price, I would have either not bought a mug at all or not bought that one. I would have gotten one that I thought was at a fair price. I mean, I've spent as much as $30, $40, $50 on a mug, right? But those are like hand pottery mugs, right? Bought at a craft fair. And again, I thought that was fair because I understand that those individuals did a lot of work, and I believe that the work that they put into it, in addition to the materials, is well worth what they charged. So, do I have a trade deficit with the coffee company and the store where I bought that mug? Do I have a trade deficit with them? Yes. Yes, I do. Is that a problem? No, it's not. I mean, if you don't want a trade deficit, you have to go to a complete barter system, or you have to make everything, right? Not only make everything, but you have to export and pretty much import next to nothing, right? I mean, sure, that's a bit extreme. It doesn't have to be like that. But a trade deficit doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing well, or that you're being taken advantage of, or that you're being ripped off. Now, another example of a trade deficit that I have, right? My wife and I, we like antique stores, right? Antique malls, flea markets, that type of stuff. We like going to that kind of stuff. Why? Because there's some cool stuff that you can get there. I mean, she likes, for example, uranium glass. If you're not familiar with uranium glass, it is usually green, sometimes yellow, and I think they actually have some blue stuff out there as well. But if you shine a black light on it, it glows. It's really fucking cool. Excuse the language. I'm not normally, I don't generally use words like that in my videos. Mainly because I don't want you to have to turn my videos off if your kids are in the room, right? But I'm not going to edit that out. I'm not going to restart the video because I'm making a point. So she collects the uranium glass. You know, sometimes she gets it for a couple of bucks a piece, and sometimes it's tens or even hundreds of bucks a piece. And she will not pay a price that she does not think is fair. So, when she buys it, is there a trade deficit? Yes. Yes, there is. Do I complain about her trade deficit? Of course not. You know, I also have a collection of guitars, right? And the most expensive one that I have is $1,100 is what it cost me. That was a Mexican-made Fender Telecaster, if you're familiar with guitars. And I thought it was well worth every penny of the $1,100 that I paid for it. Some guitars I paid a lot less for. But yeah, I mean, that's the most expensive one that I have. And yes, I have a trade deficit as it pertains to guitars, but I have a guitar surplus in exchange for the money that I expended, that I spent on those guitars. To me, they were worth it. Something else I collect: whiskey decanters. Usually Jim Beam, but I have some that are Ezra Brooks, and I think I have one or two that might even be a different brand. In fact, I have an example right there. You can hear the birds, right? This is one of the newest ones that I have. And, you know, these are not new. These are an old thing. I don't know how well you can see this with the glare. But, yeah, this is one of the newest ones to my collection. I paid $20 for it. In fact, it still has the sticker on it that says $20. You probably can't read that because of the sun. But, yeah, I mean, I have some in the shapes of ducks and others that are just kind of unique shaped bottles that are in interesting colors, and some of them have different nature scenes on them, or cowboy scenes, or whatever. I have one, actually two of them because it's a set, that they're from 1976. One is the Democrat donkey, and the other is the Republican elephant, right? So, like I said, this particular decanter, I spent $20 for. Because the guy at the flea market, antique mall, wherever it was, actually I just got that over the weekend. So the person who runs that booth at that antique mall or flea market, whichever you want to call it, they put a price tag on there that I thought was fair. So I have a trade deficit with that person. But I also have, in exchange for that $20, I have that decanter. And, there's another one that I bought at the same time. That one was only $18. So, it's all right. Bought it from that same booth. And some of the decanters I've spent, as little as $5 for, maybe even less than that on some of them. Actually, before I understood what they were, completely understood what they were, I bought a box of them for, I don't know, $5 or $10 at a yard sale, garage sale, whichever it was. If anything, I inadvertently ripped off the seller. I mean, not intentionally, because if I would have known, I would have offered more. But yeah, I mean, I've paid anywhere from $5 to $40 for decanters. I have what I want. They have what they want. They wanted my money. I wanted their product. Think of it as just going to the store. You want that product more than you want that money. They want your money more than they want their product. That's just the way it is. Same thing with international trade. China wants our money. Of course they do. But we want their products. And you can make the argument that it's all a bunch of garbage or whatnot. And yeah, we do import a lot of garbage from China, but it's stuff that we want. And we import vehicles from Japan, Korea, Europe, Canada, and Mexico, even though those are, American brands. But yeah, we import those vehicles. Why? Because we want those vehicles. We want those vehicles more than we want our $30,000 to $50,000 on average. Whereas they want that $30,000 to $50,000 for a vehicle or more. They want that money more than they want those cars. And that's okay. That's okay. You can hear the birds out here probably. We feed the birds. We like feeding the birds enough that bag of birdseed, or whatever else we're going to feed the birds with, is worth the money that we spend for it. So we're going to go spend that money on that birdseed that we want more than we want that, $10 a bag or whatever it is. And they want that $10 a bag more than they want that birdseed. Of course, we also need the feeders. And again, they want the money more than they want the feeders, and we want the feeders more than we want the money. That's the way it works. That's commerce. That's a trade deficit. And that's not a bad thing. Just because you're spending money doesn't mean that you're being ripped off. It means that you are getting something for the money that you spend. We are not being ripped off by other countries. Now, is China ripping us off? Yeah, probably in some ways. And should we have tariffs on some of our stuff? Some of the stuff that we import? Sure, but they should be used strategically. They should be used strategically. Let's put a tariff on, this particular stuff that we can make here. Not on everything. But, yeah, trade deficit, by its very nature, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If anything, it's a good sign that your country is doing well. Anyway, that's all I've got for right now. Catch you next time.